it's Susan here from Komori no Hime Cosplay, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 tips for flying to Japan. In May, I had the opportunity to go to Japan with my husband for our wedding anniversary, and we flew with ANA, and we were flying from the DC area, so we flew from DC to Tokyo. It was about a 14-hour flight, and we did fly using ANA. They were super nice. If you are deciding what airline to take when going to Japan, definitely recommend ANA. They were super professional and the staff were all very friendly, and it was just as good of an experience as you can get flying for 14 hours straight. So recommend them, and with that we'll get into the actual tips. And the first is to pack an extra suitcase. If you're like us and are giant otaku and are planning on purchasing a lot of things while you're in Japan because Akihabara exists, what we ended up doing is that we had a smaller suitcase, and that's where we put all of our clothes for the trip, and then we packed that inside of a larger suitcase. That way when we were going around the airport and all of the various mass transit that we had to take, either getting there or coming from the airport to the hotel, we only had one suitcase that we had to roll around instead of two, and that just made everything a little bit easier. And the next tip number 2 is to, well, you may put your stuff in your check-on bag, make sure to put deodorant, toothpaste, toothbrush, whatever you like to use to freshen up, in your carry-on bag. That way it is easily accessible while you're on the plane. So like I said, we were on the plane for 14 hours and you feel kind of zombie-ish after a while. So before we landed, I was able to go to the lavatory and freshen up a little bit, and that made me feel significantly more human. So I definitely recommend doing that before you land. And number 3 is to bring water. This may sound a little bit strange, especially because yes, they do provide complimentary food and beverages on the plane, but still, being in that enclosed space for such a long time, ended up getting super dehydrated. And on our flight back to the US, we made sure to get some bottles of water before we got on the plane. Obviously go through customs first, then, or security, whatever, first, and then buy your water, because otherwise they're going to confiscate it. But once you get through the gate or whatever, get some water, there was one guy that on the plane had like a case of water. That's a little bit excessive, but one thing we did use is that if you still have money left on your Passmo or Suica card, you can use that in vending machines. So we just used up the last couple dollars that we had on there at the vending machine in the airport and just bought a bunch of water and brought it. And we were super grateful for it because it made flying a lot less dry. Moving on. Number 4 is to mark your luggage, especially since we were flying through international airports where there was a lot of baggage going through, and we had just plain black suitcases, and they looked like the suitcases that everybody else was carrying. So when we were trying to pick up our bags, everything looked the same. So before you go, either get a luggage tag or even just take some stickers and put some stickers all over your luggage. Really personalize it, and that'll make everything easier to find later on. And lastly, tip number 5 is to wear layers. This was the first time that I've ever been too hot on an airplane. Usually I'm like, oh, flying on an airplane, it's gonna be super cold, we need to bring a sweater. But because of the way we were traveling, in curvature of the earth and physics and all that, the sun was beating on the plane the entire flight over, and it was really hot. It may also be because I was sitting at a window seat, but oh my gosh, it was really warm. So definitely recommend dressing in layers, so if on the off chance you do end up on a cold plane, you can put something on, but also if the plane ends up being really warm, you can remove a couple layers and not be roasting. So those were my top 5 tips. If you have any suggestions for your own tips for traveling to Japan, I would love to hear them. Let me know in the description box below, and I will see you in another video. If you are interested in any other particular aspects of our Japan trip and you want to see me go into a little bit more detail on those, let me know about that as well, and thank you so much. Bye.